Who gets the crown? That is the question that's got Montgomery County families on fire. MCPS is considering 8 plans to redraw attendance zones district-wide, needed, MCPS says, to save millions, address overcrowding, and a backlog of billions in construction needs. At the center of the controversy, Crown High, the brand new, still under construction school in Gaithersburg. Depending on the plan approved, kids in the Crown neighborhood could be sent to much further away district schools, despite the fact their parents say their own tax dollars paid for it. Some even moved for it. But other families say their kids need Crown, even just as a temporary holding school, while their schools undergo dire repairs. That's being considered for Damascus High.
Lady, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's a very important story to you all that affects your family, so we're glad to talk to you. We have Courtney, Deborah, and Gloria here. I understand you're all Fields Roads families, and you've been quite vocal and active at these redistricting meetings. Courtney, I'll start with you. For our viewers who are outside of the county, they don't know much about this issue. Explain initially where you all expected your kids to go to high school, then when you learned that that would be different, and then we'll get into where we are now.
Okay. So, yeah, we all expected to be going to Quince Orchard High School in Gaithersburg. And then Crown High School was being built when downtown Crown was built up. And we are in a community right across from Crown, downtown Crown and Crown High School. So it was proposed in the new boundary options, the first set of boundary options, that we would be taken from our cluster going to Quince Orchard and be moved to Crown High School.
How initially did that sit with you?
It sat with a bunch of people, including my family, not well. We moved to the area because we wanted to go to Crown. It reminds me, we wanted to go to Quince Orchard. It reminds me of where I grew up and kind of the high school community that I'm from, and what my husband wanted for our kids, and just that feel that we've wanted. And so we had a hard time. I think my husband's still having a hard time about it. However, we realized change happens. It needs to happen. And this is what we were being told that we were needing to do. But there were so many other families that were so excited from the very beginning to go to Crown. And now we're there too.
Brad, talk to me about how it was for your family when you realized that Quince Orchard was probably out of the mix. What was that like on your end?
For me? So I have a daughter at QO now, and it's, the school spirit there is, just unmatchable, right? The whole Friday Night Lights thing, the Red Army. It's a lot of school spirit. And so my daughter is happy to be there. A lot of kids are happy to be there. But we do live in between QO and Crown. So I think when we moved here to this neighborhood 8 years ago, we were told our kids are probably going to end up at Crown. So when we saw the boundary options and it looked like that's where we were going to go, we kind of thought, well, surprise, surprise, not at all, right? That's pretty much what we were anticipating. But then new boundary options came out in, I guess in October, there was discussion about making Crown High School a holding school, which means that it would be used by other high school populations while their school's being renovated. Or potentially having Wooten move into Crown High School. And so these options were proposed, I think it was December 1st. And at that time, we learned that under many of those options, we would instead be routed to Gaithersburg High School, it's on the other side of 270. It's just not, our kids know QO, they know Crown. They could walk or ride their bike to either, crossing 270 to trek up to Gaithersburg. It's just a very different experience. I think that it's just, our kids just don't have an affiliation with it. They don't have friends there. And just looking at the numbers, it's already going to be literally at 100% capacity if we were moved there. So it's like, why would you move us from QO, put us in Gaithersburg? This isn't solving any overcrowding problems. So that's when our community really kind of said, wait a second, what's going on here? And how is this going to affect us? And since then, I mean, I think we've kind of coalesced around the idea that it makes sense for us to be at Crown. QO is overcapacity, we get it. And Crown was built to alleviate overcrowding at Gaithersburg high schools. By moving us, we do alleviate that overcrowding. And so, Crown makes perfect sense once we had a minute to think about it.
Talk to me for you, the concerns about if all of your kids are in fact rerouted to Gaithersburg High. Deborah obviously just touched on it a little bit. Where is your perspective on this?
My perspective or Gloria?
Gloria.
Sure. Gloria.
Hi. I'm not really happy with the idea of our kids going to Gaithersburg. I feel like it's too far. We would like our kids to go to Crown. I would be okay with the kids going also to Quince Orchard and staying in that cluster also. But moving them to Gaithersburg, that's just really far. It's over 270. We have our community here already. Our PTA has been working really hard to advocate for our school and for Fields Road to go to Crown as a permanent high school, and we would like to keep it that way. And if we can't, then maybe we can just go back to our old cluster and just stay in Quince Orchard.
I know your kids are young, but I imagine they've caught wind of some of this, and if not, some of your friends' kids, maybe discuss it. And any of you three ladies can jump in here. How do your kids feel about the potential of going to Gaithersburg High School?
So my daughter is going to be speaking about it also she's going to be testifying at the Board of Education, and she wants to go to Crown. She's excited about it. She wants to walk there with her friends. They've built a really nice community here, and she wants to stay in the neighborhood and wants to stay in the area.
And for
I think the kids just don't, like I said, it's not part of our community. It's not part of our neighborhood. They don't even know where it is. They don't know kids there. We would be the only elementary school from this sort of cluster getting peeled off there. So it's like we wouldn't be going to middle school with people we'd be going to high school with, which is not a great situation. So it just, I don't think I've heard of any kids being particularly excited about it just because it sounds foreign, it sounds strange, they don't know where it is. And, it's you say Crown, they know how to get there, right? You see QO, they've been to the football games. I mean, those are both places they know and love.
Yeah,
Some of our
please go ahead.
It's not even just our kids, right? Like there are so many kids that can walk and will be walkers to Crown High School, and we would have to take the bus past this brand new school in order to go to Gaithersburg High School. And so they're just like, I don't understand. And so taking something that's so accessible and is part of their community, it just to go someplace where they're not going to know anybody but their elementary school friends as they go, it's just confusing, but they also want to be with their friends. So we're trying to speak up for all the other kids too that are going to have to no longer walk, but take a bus. And just sort of like, I don't
Courtney,
understand.
that your family moved to the neighborhood for Quince Orchard initially?
Yes. We didn't know as much about, we knew Crown. We can walk there. I would run through there, but as far as Crown High School and the redistricting, I wasn't as familiar when we moved to this location, but it was for QO, and our kids went to preschool and do sports with a bunch of other kids from neighborhoods that feed into QO. And the thought was always like, oh, we're all coming back together to go to QO. However, we pivot, right? Because we all know that change needs to happen. And so to be able to say like, okay, but at least we're still going to this community that we know. We're going to someplace that's familiar to us versus the school where we're not going to know anybody, although they've all been together. And I don't even know where it is. Like, how do we get there? Is the mindset of for them.
Feel like the board has heard all of you. And I know that you've again been very vocal and it's been really passionate subject for all of you. Do you think you've been heard?
I've actually appreciated that they have heard from so many of us. They've read and responded to our emails. I actually do think they're really listening. They, I think the first time you showed up, one of the board members said, could she get modified data showing what the population would look like if the Fields Road communities were there? I think it's, this whole process is new to a lot of us. I mean, it's a bizarre one, right? They do get community feedback, but then Dr. Taylor will make a recommendation, and then the Board of Education will then have, a few more weeks to decide their final answer on it. So, I think as we've looked into it, from my perspective, it's just the idea of a holding school doesn't sit right to me at all. I mean, this is going to be a brand new state-of-the-art school. There's plans to have these amazing STEM programs there. It's right near NIST, it's right near AstraZeneca. And there's just great plans for the school. I mean, the mock-ups look amazing inside. And the idea that you're just going to use it as sort of like a rental space for other high schools, just it doesn't sit right with me. The only school that has an approved and funded renovation right now is Damascus. I mean, if I were there, the notion of trudging down to downtown Crown every day for years sounds like a nightmare. I just, I can't imagine that many families want to do that. And, I know that there's folks who are in the Wooten community and Magruder community saying, but hey, we had a renovation that was approved. I mean, at this point, the county said there's no funding for those renovations. So, what are you going to do? Leave this school, brand new school, empty, while the other schools stay overcrowded because of maybe in 5, 10, 15 years, the county gets money that they don't think they're going to have. It just, the holding school idea, I think, I'm hoping that the board has heard doesn't feel like it makes a lot of sense for our community versus, having the school be a community school. And be for people who live in Gaithersburg. It sounds like, maybe also people who live in Rockville, but where Crown's situated is right on the border of Gaithersburg and Rockville. It seems that makes sense to use it for those communities.
And you were going to say something. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Like Deborah was saying, it doesn't solve the overcrowding at that point. Like each high school is still going to be over capacity at that point, and it's removing community from this area. You're not going to have as much of that community feel in the football. What is it going to be, a new football team every 2 to 4 years? Like, what happens to community in creating that if that's used as a holding school for communities that are 20-25 minutes away?
Curious what you all expect will happen when the superintendent is expected in just about 2 days to give a recommendation. Do you have any sense from paying as close attention as you all have to what that recommendation might be?
Well, so Dr. Taylor did tell us that it's not likely to be options A through H as they're written. So I think initially everyone kind of thought it's going to be one of these options, and he made it very clear that that's unlikely. It's going to be some sort of combination of a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And that's what they've been trying to figure out by hearing from all of us, what communities are happy with what parts of different options. So I mean, what we've been hearing, talking to folks, talking to like the city of Gaithersburg officials, is that it does feel like what's identified now as option H is the one with all the momentum behind it. That's the one that basically moves Wooten into Crown permanently. And then the idea, what we've been asking for is to be there as well. So if you're going to move Wooten into it, there is still space left over for Gaithersburg students. And so, the Crown community kids certainly should go there. They're literally listening to the construction right now. And then we're right across the street. So, we're arguing that it makes sense for us to go there. So obviously there's a lot of opposition from the Wooten folks, but it just does not seem like there's going to be money for the renovation they want. Fair or not, it's, the economy in Maryland has been hard hit by everything going on in the federal government. And, MoCo just doesn't seem to have the money now for these large scale renovations. So I just, it seems that that's the direction it's heading in, is that Wooten would end up moving to Crown, and hopefully we'll be there too.
For people who have maybe not followed this, the Wooten families, a lot of the ones who've been vocal, have suggested that they want Wooten renovated, correct? As opposed to moving into Crown. They want to stay in their school but have it fixed. I know they've said there've been a lot of issues. Is that right?
Yeah, they basically brought out option W. Yeah, I'll let you explain.
Sorry. From being at the board meetings, like they've showed up, a lot of Wooten parents, and they have signs out there, children out there with signs and banners and pictures, and they don't want option H. They want to keep Wooten as Wooten and still have their renovation.
What do you, and this is for all three of you, whoever wants to jump in, what do you think folks are maybe missing about this story? Because there's so many different plans, right? And there's so many different people affected. Montgomery County is the state's largest district. Are there any things we haven't talked about that you think would be important for folks to understand as far as the impact of what's up in the air?
The impact. I think that what a lot of folks are missing is that boundaries are being redrawn across the county right now. The same thing is going on the east side of the county. I mean, they're having similar conversations about the lines drawn there. And what's kind of new to the conversation is that the population in like downtown Bethesda, in the Winston Churchill area, those areas that families really can't afford to live in anymore, those school populations are shrinking. And so that's kind of a new thing that's been, introduced into this conversation. We've been hearing for so long that these schools are overcrowded, and MoCo's been spending money to increase capacity. And now that's not an issue. Now they're just falling apart, right? I mean, you've got these schools. It's like every week you hear a story about a plumbing leak, a gas leak, ceiling fell, whatever, right? I mean, it's happening at all the high schools across the county. And so I feel like there's this mood of there needs to be a shift, right? It's like, all right, we need to actually look at what's happening now. The population in certain areas is shrinking. The population in other areas up north, Clarksburg, is growing. The schools all need maintenance. They don't need to be shiny new buildings. They need HVAC. They need roofs. They need those things. And that's, I think, where they're going to be investing. But they're going to redraw the lines, right? And, I think there's going to be people who are happy and mad on both sides. And I don't know that there's a way that they do it that makes everyone happy, right? I mean, I'm sure they would love to find that. I don't know that exists.
Yeah, there's nothing that's going to make every single person happy in this. And we all, including people within Wooten, we all have reasons why we moved to the area. However, our areas are changing. And so what made us move here doesn't mean that it's not going to necessarily stay that way. And I know this is something I hadn't mentioned, but it's also looking at how the overcrowding, how the shifts in the boundaries are going to impact the students at the schools that we're feeding into, and what needs do those students have compared to the needs that our students are going to have, and what does that look like for students that have different needs. And that information hasn't necessarily been provided and looked at. And so it's like, it's not just about where we're going, but it's also about those students that we're going to be going with, and what is that going to do for them and their services and their communities, and what's available. But we all have the emotion behind it. It's what is going to be best for the students there.
Because it is so emotional, from watching these board meetings, I know for every parent and every kid who talks, you can feel that. And I hear it even as you talk. What is the emotion that you feel behind this? Because I know you just said it's about wanting what's best for your kid.
It's wanting our kids to feel like, I know for me, that they have a community, that they have people to turn to, that they have consistent staff members, that they have consistency within their peers, that they're getting their needs met academically, and that the services that are already for kids with 504s, IEPs, and any other type of disabilities that aren't already getting their services, their needs met, will actually be getting them met at the next school that they go to. And so it's that, and it's also our community. No matter what the recommendation is that Taylor comes out with, is our Fields Road community has come together and has fought for all of the students. And to be a part of that community as a parent is just, it's amazing to watch. And we all have that support within each other, and to want my children to have that too.
Laura, is there anything you wanted to add that you haven't said?
So I wanted to touch base a little bit on also the community that we have at Fields Road, which is our 40% farms community. And they really haven't had a chance to, speak out about what they want. So they want to feel connected, and they've been working really hard to do that. And bringing up Crown and talking about Crown High School, it makes them excited. It makes them happy to be a part of the community. It makes them excited to help their kids learn more, to push them to, better their scores and participate more in all the events. Like it's really helping them to have that idea of their kids going to Crown. Our community it's so connected right now, and I feel really passionate about it, and that's something really important too. They're a little bit afraid of their kids getting lost in an overcrowded school.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I'm sorry, me?
Yeah, if you could just elaborate, because I think it's an important point.
Yes. So, for example, Ms. Raffo, she's our community engagement specialist, and she's amazing. Like, if Ms. Raffo asks her community to do anything, like they're always there. And every time I've gone there and we've spoken to them, they're ready to help support, have their kids learn, have them stay after school and have tutoring. They want to do this, but some of them are scared. Some are scared to come out and talk. But they're there, and they feel like their voices are a little bit like they're not being heard right now. But they're passionate. They want to be a part of this.
Is there anything that any of you ladies wanted to add? You've covered so much, but I know this is a nuanced topic and an important one. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you think we need to?
I was just thinking as Gloria was talking, I mean, Gaithersburg is a really exceptional place. I mean, it's one of the most diverse cities in the country. And I think the people who live here were drawn to live here because of that. I think it is just, it's a really remarkable place because of that. And Fields Road is like a little microcosm of that. I mean, it's actually what's called a focus school because it does have very disparate economic communities within it. It also is incredibly racially diverse. I mean, it's just outstanding to look at the students in that building, and just you can tell they come from all over the world and from all walks of life, and it's really cool that they're all in there together, learning from each other, learning together. And I hope that kind of no matter where we end up, that we are someplace that values that appreciates that. We're bringing our diversity to the table, and we think that that's valuable and an asset. I feel like MCPS recognizes that. I do feel like they've indicated that making sure that equity is recognized is important. And I just, like Gloria said, I mean, it's been cool to see how we can come together, all get on the same page, all push for the same goal. But it's also cool that that's coming from a very diverse community, and that's, we always say diversity is our strength. I mean, we really mean it. I mean, it's a pretty exceptional part of Gaithersburg and an exceptional part of our neighborhoods as well.
And I wanted to add that this past year, our Hispanic Heritage Night has been one of the biggest events that we've held at Fields Road. It was full. It was packed. We had great performances. Everybody felt together, very united. That was a very special moment for Fields Road also.
Me, I'll leave you with the last word if you have anything else you want to add.
I don't. I think it's making sure that we become a community, and that no matter where our diverse, we're always going to be together, in the community, the Fields Road community, and to be able to, no matter where we are joining and who we are joining, to be able to all come together and create, hopefully in Crown High School, a brand new community, and create all of the environment that we've wanted for all of our children.
Thank you, all three of you, for your time.